About an hour before I was going to post this week's full episode of Strong Opinion Sports, a really big story broke, and it felt like something I should acknowledge and talk about and do kind of an emergency recording. So let's talk about it. The Jets have fired their head coach, Robert Saleh, which is, to me, very surprising. And I would imagine being surprised by that news is a pretty common sentiment across the NFL and its fan base today. Robert Saleh coached for 3 full seasons and 5 games. So 3 years and 5 games. He was 20-36 as the Jets head coach. Going into the year, starting 2-3. Some ugly losses, most notably losing this past weekend to former Jets quarterback Sam Darnold. And meanwhile, having his own quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, throwing 3 interceptions. It's an interesting move. And it's one that I am really curious how it will play out and how things are going to reflect on the Jets organization down the road. In the meantime, Jeff Ulbrich is going to be named the interim head coach in New York as the Jets. I like Jeff Ulbrich. He actually went to University of Hawaii ties there. I love him. He's awesome. I'm rooting for him. I don't know if he's the right guy or not. What really stands out to me in Robert Saleh's 3 years and 5 games as head coach, again, a 20-36 record, is that during that entire stretch, he just never had a quarterback. He actually put together a really good defense every single year. And unfortunately, they could just never get the quarterback situation figured out in New York under his tenure. And that's really his legacy, in my opinion. It's, they tried really hard with Zach Wilson. They kind of ran into a brick wall many, many times. They brought in Aaron Rodgers one year, 4 snaps into the year, tears his Achilles, he's out. And then in the second year, and the full year of having Aaron Rodgers, they start 2-3. And frankly, Aaron hasn't looked very good this year. And so I don't know that this was the right move to correct the Jets' failures this year. I like Robert Saleh a lot. I want to make it very clear. He's going to have no problem finding a job. He's going to find a job as a defensive coordinator very easily. I don't know he's ever going to get hired again as a head coach. Kind of reminds me of a coach, Steve Spagnuolo, the Kansas City Chiefs defensive coordinator, a guy who has proven to be a great defensive coach who, as a head coach, failed. Robert Saleh couldn't develop Zach Wilson, and then even with Aaron Rodgers, they couldn't figure out the offensive side of the football. I don't know that that's Robert Saleh's fault. We can talk about that and kind of who takes the blame there. But the reality is the same. Either way, the outcome is, hey, you're a great defensive coach who couldn't impact the offense well enough to make it succeed. So I don't see why another organization would bring him in as head coach again, knowing that teams under him have failed so tremendously on the offensive side of the football. Now, this iteration, the last 2 years of the Jets, last year in 2023 and this year in 2024, I think you got to look pretty hard at the offensive coordinator in New York of the Jets. It's a guy Aaron Rodgers really loves, and I don't really understand his allegiance. Nathaniel Hackett's the guy, former Denver Broncos head coach who was terrible there as head coach. He was hired in Denver. I think they were targeting and trying to bring in Aaron Rodgers as quarterback there. That move didn't end up happening, so he got fired. He gets brought into New York as a Jets offensive coordinator. They do get Aaron Rodgers there. We saw Nathaniel Hackett coached as an offensive coordinator for a full year last year. He couldn't really develop Zach Wilson. It didn't work very well. And now, 5 games into 2024, the Jets offense looks bad. There's not a lot of great motions. They're not running the football very well. There is what's the right word here? A lack of willingness to, I think, keep Aaron Rodgers in check is kind of how I observe and how it comes across in this situation. Aaron Rodgers kind of gets free reign to do whatever he wants. And the reality is Aaron Rodgers doing whatever he wants isn't working. The offense looks terrible. He just threw 3 interceptions against the Vikings. 2 of them were like god-awful, really bad interceptions. I'm sorry, when you got a Hall of Fame quarterback and he's playing terrible, I don't know how you blame Robert Saleh here. It's very weird. One narrative here, one storyline is Robert Saleh wore a Lebanese flag on like his sweatshirt this week. Some people were mad about that. There's no way they fired him for that. I just can't. If that's true, that's crazy. I just can't see that. I saw a lot of coaches across the NFL this week wear their flag and country of origin on their sweatshirt. Like, for example, Arthur Smith, the Steelers said, Steelers offensive coordinator had a what I believe is a Dutch flag, the blue with a white cross. I'm not really sure what nation that is. I think it's a Dutch flag. Don't quote me on that, though. And so you see coaches wearing nationalities, flags of their nationality. I don't know why that's weird. That stands out to me as like a little controversy we saw briefly, but I think it's more the fact that they're losing and the fact that they lost to Sam Darnold is a really bad look. And I would imagine Woody Johnson, the owner, is really, really angry. So again, kind of in summary, Robert Saleh, great coach. Love the guy. He's awesome. Clearly couldn't develop and put together a good offense when he was head coach. Some of that's his fault. Some of that's not. The plan bringing in Aaron Rodgers was, I'm going to get out of the way. It's Aaron's offense. Nathaniel Hackett's going to be the coordinator. I'm just going to worry about defense. That strategy failed and was terrible and has been terrible. We'll see if firing Robert Saleh is the change needed in New York. I don't think it's going to be. It's very clear the owner, Woody Johnson, is sending a message to his organization. We're 2-3. It's not acceptable. Let's do whatever we can to salvage this situation. I have a hard time believing that's the right move. Is that what's going to solve this situation? Firing a coach that I think is respectable, that the locker room likes? I don't know. Okay, good luck. To me, it's really hard to not look at this situation and view it as Aaron got Robert Saleh fired, whether directly or indirectly. We don't know what happened behind closed doors. Maybe they had a disagreement. Maybe Aaron Rodgers. I can imagine a situation. No accusations here, but it's not out of bounds to believe, hey, Aaron maybe went to the owner and said, let's get rid of Robert. I don't think that happened, but that is not entirely impossible to imagine. More likely, though, I think it's just Aaron. What I really view it as is Aaron not playing well led to the coach getting fired. If Aaron comes out and plays incredible to start the year, they start 5-0, obviously Robert Saleh doesn't get fired. So Aaron Rodgers not playing well enough, not putting together a good enough product on the field has led to Robert Saleh getting fired, in my opinion. So I think it's an indirect consequence of Aaron playing poorly rather than a direct consequence of Aaron going to management. But also, certainly, I would imagine Aaron signed off on this. I can't imagine Robert Saleh getting fired without the owner saying, hey, Aaron, you cool if I get rid of Robert Saleh? It's just weird to not feel like there's some kind of shady, backstabby nature to this when you view Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if that's fair or not, but I can't imagine him getting fired without the quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, approving of it. It's very clear. Aaron runs that organization. He's got all the power. Robert Saleh many times had opportunities to criticize Aaron Rodgers and tiptoed around it. He refused to do that. I think there's a sign of dysfunction there, an unwillingness and inability to challenge Aaron or keep him accountable or talk negatively about him. It's weird. It's not good. And we're now approaching a situation with the Jets organization where you look at them and go, okay, I've watched a lot of coaches go through there. I've watched a lot of quarterbacks. Geno Smith played there. Didn't work. But now he is in Seattle and he's a franchise quarterback, getting paid well, playing well, doing well. So was it Geno Smith or was it the Jets? We saw Sam Darnold have a horrible time there, playing under Adam Gase, getting kind of raked through the coals, getting made fun of. Well, now Sam Darnold's in Minnesota. He's 5-0. He looks really good. There's still time for Sam Darnold's year to derail, but I don't see that happening. I think Sam Darnold might be the franchise quarterback in Minnesota. So again, you look at, was it the Jets or was it the quarterback? I think it was the Jets' fault there. Honestly, watching Geno Smith and Sam Darnold play well makes me wonder, is Zach Wilson really cooked? Is Zach Wilson still possible to be a quarterback who could play well? I think, yeah, I really would like to see Zach Wilson in another situation getting a real shot to play well and succeed. I guess what I'm trying to say, it comes across like the Jets management, their ownership, Woody Johnson, the owner specifically, has built a toxic culture that doesn't work and doesn't support quarterbacks. And I just don't know how it's possible for the owner to look at this situation. And when you evaluate what's gone on in New York in the first 5 games this year in 2024, there's no way possible that the defense is the problem. You have to point your finger at the offensive side of the football. I guess you fire a defensive head coach when the offense is garbage, I guess. I mean, it makes very little sense to me. I don't know how you diagnose this issue as the offense being the problem. Right now, the Jets' offense is 32, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27th out of 32. They're a bottom 10 offense in football. On the defensive side of the football, they're the second best defense statistically. So, how? How is it possible? And by the way, the only team ahead of them with fewer yards per game is the Tennessee Titans. And their defense, one thing worth noting, they've played in fewer games this year. So, I don't know, man. It's very weird. By the way, the Titans defense played against Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers did very little. I'm not sure how you diagnose the problem with the Jets' lack of winning so far this year, a 2-3 record, and go, it's Robert Saleh's fault. No, clearly it's Nathaniel Hackett and the offensive coordinator and probably Aaron Rodgers. The issue there, though, they've built a situation where they can't criticize Aaron. They can't get rid of his precious special offensive coordinator they love. I think it might be an owner grasping at straws, trying whatever he can to wake the franchise up and kind of shake things up and make a change to steer the course of their season in a different direction. But you look ahead at the Jets season. They've got Buffalo next and Pittsburgh, the Patriots, Houston, Arizona, Indy. I don't know, man. So then Miami, Jacksonville, the Rams, Buffalo again, Miami. By the time they play Miami, I don't think Tua's coming back this year. It's possible Tua's healthy and plays. I don't think so, but maybe. But either way, the Bills game's going to get ugly. Maybe. Maybe there's a moment similar to when Bryce Young got benched in Carolina where you make a big change, there's an emotional lift off the team, and they come out swinging for 1 week. But after that, they play TJ Watt and the Steelers defense. Sorry, there's no way that Aaron Rodgers handles that defense very well. It was ugly. It was weird. It's been a bad week. I don't believe in the offensive line. I don't believe in the play calling. We watched a game against the Vikings where they threw the ball 54 times and ran the ball 14. I don't know what you're doing. I think Aaron Rodgers has been given too much freedom. He's been allowed to do whatever he wants, and it's not paying off. I hate to see Robert Saleh fall victim to this, to be the guy to take the fall here. I think he's a scapegoat. I really don't think the failures of the Jets organization this year fall entirely on Robert Saleh. I think it falls more on the situation that's been created. And frankly, the freedom Aaron Rodgers has been given unchecked. Now, is he a head coach? Should he be responsible for losses? Yeah, I guess. I don't want to make excuses for the guy. Do I think he ever gets hired as a head coach again? I don't think Robert Saleh will ever be a head coach ever again. Do I like the guy? Yeah. Would I hire him as a defensive coordinator? Undoubtedly. Without a shadow of a doubt, he's going to be defensive coordinator again. I think Jeff Ulbrich, the defensive coordinator in New York, is probably going to get a job as a defensive coordinator as well. I think it's very unlikely Jeff Ulbrich and Robert Saleh work together again unless one of them gets fired and needs the other guy on their staff. I think they're close. I think they're friends, Jeff Ulbrich and Robert Saleh. I don't think there's a backstabbing situation there. I just think Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich are both going to be defensive coordinators, which means they're going to not work together again. But Robert Saleh, man, he might take a year off. I wouldn't blame the guy if he just said, hey, I'm going to take the rest of the year off, maybe next year. Whether it's 2025 or 2026, whenever Robert Saleh wants to coach football again, he's going to get a job easily as a defensive coordinator. And I think that reflects on his time in New York. The Jets defense has been good basically the entire time he's been there. The offensive side of the football couldn't get it done. And in the situation currently, again, Robert Saleh didn't have any ownership of that offense. He gave it to Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers, and they frankly steered it into the ground. So I think it's an owner here, Woody Johnson, making a rash decision, doing the wrong thing. I wish him well. And sometimes when you get fired from a toxic situation, it's a blessing in disguise. I feel that way about many times I have been booted from things. I think maybe this situation with Aaron Rodgers and ownership and the offense, Robert Saleh might be better off just walking away going, nah, I'm done here. I tried everything I could. I'm going to have a great position when I want as a defensive coordinator. I feel bad for the guy. I like Robert Saleh a lot. I think he took a fall here that wasn't entirely his fault. Again, you take some ownership as a head coach for losses. Sure, absolutely. But it's very obvious to see, hey, you got a number 2 ranked defense this year and a number 27 ranked offense that as a head coach, Robert Saleh had no ownership over. Aaron Rodgers and the offense was the problem, and yet Robert Saleh was the one who got fired. It's weird. We'll see if it works. Maybe Robert Saleh was the entire problem, and now suddenly the Jets are going to win, and they're going to beat the Bills, they're going to beat the Steelers, they're going to beat the Patriots, they're going to beat Houston, they're going to go on a crazy tear and win the Super Bowl. Maybe. I'm open to that. But that feels really unlikely. And to me, it feels really slimy there, Rodgers. It just seems like he probably pushed him out. I don't know what the deal was there. I think it's very weird, but someone had to take a fall for a 2-3 start and a loss to Sam Darnold. And I guess it's Robert Saleh. I don't agree with it. I don't think it makes sense. If you're going to make this move, why not at least just wait? But maybe this is, again, Woody Johnson realizing we're 2-3. If we don't do something now, the year is lost. And so it's grasping at straws, in my opinion. I guess maybe. I just feel bad for Robert Saleh. Good guy, took a fall, don't agree with it. We'll see how it plays out for the rest of the year for the New York Jets.